Hello, my friends. God bless you. Uh, I would like to share a word once again with you, and my desire is that you would be blessed and grow in your faith in Jesus Christ. And I would like to cover a subject over the next few messages, a subject that I have titled Sowing and Reaping. I would like to start here in the book of Galatians. We're going to be looking at verses 7 and 8. If you just pay close attention here as I read the word. Do not be deceived, for God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to the flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, and he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And I'm going to stop there for just a few moments because I do believe that at this time there is something that I would like to put forward for you today. First of all, Apostle Paul here, he is speaking to the church in Galatia, and he's speaking to a church of believers. In other words, this wasn't for the unbelieving crowd. This wasn't evangelism. This was doctrine. And that doctrine that he was bringing forth here was one that I would say should be very elementary for all of us who have been walking with Jesus for some time. But it's one thing that oftentimes we forget about. And he opens up this word to them by saying, do not be deceived, because whatever a man sows, that he will reap. Now, he talks about two different types of seed that are being planted. One, by the way, was the seed of the flesh, and the other was the seed of the Spirit. Now, one thing we should understand here is that he wasn't speaking at this church as a church that was indulging in fornication, lewdness, and all sorts of wickedness in their church, but instead they had become, as he puts it, bewitched, that they would trust in something else. He said, hey, did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or by believing and in faith? And when he said that, he was addressing the type of sowing that they were having, and that they were having happen inside of their selves and inside of the church. And one thing we need to know, and I would like to draw your attention to here, is that it says in verse 7, be not deceived. Do not be deceived. Now, my friends, it might be hard for us to think that a well-meaning Christian, a man or a woman of God, would be deceived. Deceived in such a way that we would think to ourselves that we're okay, everything's great, that I can do this. Now, do not be deceived. What is that in relation to? And I would like to say this, that every moment of every day, sowing is happening. Sometimes we think a little mistake or a little problem or a little attitude or a little anger that, it was not a big deal, or a little bit of leaving off spending time with God or connecting with the church or fellowshipping with believers, all be all right. Or a little bit of just cooling off as a Christian, not being fervent in your relationship with Jesus, that I'm going to be all right. But Apostle Paul says something to them here. He says, do not be deceived, my brethren. For whatever you sow, you will reap. We are sowing every single moment of every single day. What do I mean by this? Well, simply put, you're either walking in the Spirit, which sows spiritual seed and brings forth eternal life, the things of eternity, that's what it means, or we are walking as a mere man or woman, and the results is what a mere man or woman can produce in their own strength, which is death. Apart from Christ, there is nothing that we can do. And every single day we are sowing. And one thing we should know is each seed brings forth after its own kind. In other words, every seed will produce according to its own makeup. Now, what do I mean by this? God has designed it that with every single thing that there is done, it can only bring forth that which it is determined to make. What that means is God never created us to be God. Therefore, we can never make anything that resembles God, especially because we have a fallen nature. But some people believe that somehow they can produce something in their own strength that would please God. And that's what the problem was in Galatia. You see, they had determined that if we just keep the law, there were these individuals that came into their midst. They were referred to by those Christians of that day as Judaizers. And what they would do is they would say, yeah, we know about Jesus, but you also have to keep the law of Moses to be righteous. And what that means, my friend, is that every single one of us, we also too can fall into the same trap. And he said to them, be not deceived. Because after every seed, it produces after its own kind. That's what Jesus was espousing in this doctrine to the church at that day. Now, simply put, let us look at this for just a moment and sort of try to apply this to our own lives and our own situations that we have within our daily lives. Now, what that means is you can never do mere human actions and expect to get God results. And you can always expect that when you do God actions by the Spirit, that's why it says in Galatians chapter 5 over here, it says, those who walk according to the Spirit, they will never satisfy the deeds of the flesh. Those who are sowing according to the Spirit, they reap a spiritual fruit. Now, how many of you have maybe spent a little time gardening in your house or at your backyard? Have you ever noticed whatever type of seeds that you put in is what you get out? That is what Jesus said in the book of Genesis. It says, and God gave seed which brings forth from its own kind, And it's still true to this day. In other words, you can't expect to walk in your flesh, have no intimacy with God, and try to please God with your own strength by performing certain actions and expect there to be some sort of good crop that comes forward. And that's important for us to understand. So we sow either in the spirit or in the flesh. There is no in between. Now, I'm going to stop for today as we will look forward to another time when I will speak again about this subject on part number 2. And I would hope that you would tune in. If you are interested in listening to more of these, you can always, there is a tab on your app or on your web browser that says follow, and you can follow this page. Or if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and you can find out, get a little notification the next time I will be speaking about this subject. But for now, may the Lord bless you, and may you think about this for just a few moments as we end this video, that, my friends, there's no pushing pause. You're either sowing in the flesh or you're sowing in the spirit. May the Lord bless you.